many tools, too much stress, and way too many bills.
Odoo replaces it all. One connected platform for every part of your business, so you can work faster, smarter, and for less. Odoo, the only software you'll ever need. Try it free today at odoo.com. That's ODOO.com.
Yeah. Turn the dial, hear the signal crack. Truth in the static, never turning back. Yeah. Woo! Scrolling headlines, feel the pressure in my chest. World full of noise, but they say it's for the best. Echo chambers loud, got you trapped in the feed. But I'm breaking out the box, yeah, I question what I read. They say trust the system, don't peek behind the veil. But the deeper that I look, see the cracks in the tail. From the shadows to the light, I'm igniting the flame. Independent voices rise, never playing their game. Hear the whispers in the night, voices saying stand and fight. Through the chaos, through the lies, we're the ones who open eyes. We are the truth in the static, loud and unchained, breaking the silence. Yeah, we're calling the name. Through the fire, through the noise, we don't fade. Eternal voices, never buried, never tamed. Mic check, 1, 2, this is spiritual war. Armor on my soul, yeah, I'm ready for more. They can censor every word, try to bury the sound. But the underground pulse still shaking the ground. Radio waves like a beacon in the storm. Independent minds, yeah, we far from the norm. Faith in the message, got a fire in the chest. Speak it raw, speak it real, let the truth manifest. They try to shut it down, but we're still here now. Truth don't die, it multiplies. You can't cage what never lies. Turn it up, hear the voices in the feed. Hey, question everything they want you to believe. What? From the silence to the raw, we ignite. Yeah, stand tall, bring the dark into the light. We are the truth in the static, loud and unchained, breaking the silence. Yeah, we're calling the name. Through the fire, through the noise, we don't fade. Eternal voices, never buried, never tamed. Yeah, signal never dies. Truth lives on.
Good evening, everybody. I am Joshua Cummins, and welcome back to Eternal Affairs Interviews. And this interview is going to be with this great gentleman next to me. His name is Nick Richardson, if you don't already know. And we're going to get into that here very, very shortly. But I want to remind you guys that you are listening on EA Truth Radio, and this is brought to you by EternalAffairsMedia.com. The website, again, is EternalAffairsMedia.com. Please visit the website. There's all kinds of content outside of this that you will absolutely enjoy. So much there for you to consume. And also, if you would do me a favor and check out my network as well. I have my own network separate from here. It's Revolver Broadcasting. And if you go to revolverbroadcasting.com, I would really appreciate it. We have 11 shows that we do over there, and all out of the same studio that I'm currently working in. So just busy all the time creating stuff for you guys. So we want to make sure that you guys have plenty of stuff to watch, to listen to, and things that are going to tell you the truth. Make sure you guys, if you haven't already, hit the like button, comment. We need those comments, not just in the live chat, but also in the comments section. It helps break the algorithm, pushes this out further. We want to make sure that you're subscribed or following, depending upon the platform you're viewing or listening on. Make sure the notification bells are turned on so you always know when this channel is live, and make sure that you're sharing this content because I'll tell you, sharing is in fact caring. A macho man from the grave, beyond the grave, agrees.
Oh yeah.
I was just taking a look at your shirt, Nick, and I thought he'll appreciate that. But Nick, just before we get into all things you and what you're working on, and also the wonderful nonprofit that you have built from the ground up, I got to tell people about MyPillow real quick, and because man, I love MyPillow. I own two of them, as a matter of fact. People, I've heard negative reviews, and I'm like, how? Like, these are like the best pillow. I'm an insomniac by nature, but after I got my pillows, I'm out like a light, dude. I mean, so if you want to help support Truthful Media Ministry, as well as Mike Lindell and Fair Elections, use promo code ETERNAL at mypillow.com. You can get up to 88% off depending on what sales are running. They have many products besides just the MyPillows. I mean, there's blankets and sheets and slippers, and I can't attest to all those, but I can tell you those pillows are amazing, for 100% for sure. And remember to use promo code ETERNAL at mypillow.com. All right, the bills have been paid, Nick, and you have this fantastic nonprofit called Gr8ter Veterans, and I would like to ask that you would tell us more about that and how it came about.
So I served in the Army from 99 to 03, did a tour in Kosovo, bounced around with some DOD, Department of Defense jobs overseas a little bit. My wife's from Germany, and then we came stateside when our contract was over with one of the companies. They did some stupid things and ended up costing a bunch of us our jobs. We knew it was coming down. So I said, you know what? I got the GI Bill, the college fund. Let's go back home to Washington State, where I'm at now, and I'll go to school and pursue criminal justice. So that's what we were doing. And, I got my degree done in 2012, got my master's done, was under I want to say the first Obama administration was coming to an end at that time.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a lot of law enforcement jobs out there for obvious reasons. I don't think your listeners have to have that blank filled in. And, yeah, not a very pro-cop law enforcement administration. And anyway, there wasn't a lot of jobs. I was out of work for about 2 years, struggling mentally. My youngest, my daughter, was born at that time, trying to find my way. Ended up going to Missouri for about 6 months and then taking a probation job, bouncing back here, and got a government job with Homeland Security that starts off at part-time. And I was like, my mind was just rattled because, we had experienced in that time a little bit of homelessness, and some of the vet services we used up here and other places were subpar. There wasn't anything that, it was just like minor stuff. Nothing really helped with this or with this. And once I got on my feet, and was only part-time, my boss said, hey, why don't you start a nonprofit doing those things? And they gave me permission to do it because when you're a federal employee, you got to ask those things, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I got it up and running. Yeah, our original and still our goal, but it's harder to reach than I initially thought, is to build a vet center that's going to be like a VFW on steroids. Not that I'm encouraging steroid use, but as a descriptive term.
Right.
And we want to have like a cafe, bistro, lounge rec area, like a business development office, meeting room, internet cafe, and then we want to have like a gym as well as like a cafeteria size room for concerts, special events, guest speakers, holiday meals, etc. So that was the original goal. And we're going to call the center, because you need a catchy name, we're going to call it the EVAC Center, which grabs your ear as a military person. But instead, EVAC typically means getting out of a bad into a good, So we thought, well, everyone loves acronyms, so let's do an acronym with EVAC. So it stands for Every Veterans Assistance Center. So that's the ultimate goal, but we also didn't understand real estate when we came up with it, that something in the 20 to 50,000 square foot, even if you grabbed an old warehouse, is you need Donald Trump to fund it for you, literally. So we're still working towards that. So in the meantime, we've done a lot of outreach. Even before the nonprofit, my family and I breed German Shepherds, so we try to do 1 to 2 donated to a vet out of every litter free of charge. We don't breed every year. We only do typically 2 to 3 litters. We keep the parents. We don't, rehome them. So some of it has to do with the life cycle of the dog too. So we don't breed before we downsize on dogs, and we let them live out their life peacefully. So we do that as a give back on top of the nonprofit mission.
I'll definitely have to connect you with my good friend Eddie Block, who's done a few, because he has to have a service dog himself, but because of his disability, but he's helped several veterans get dogs. So I think that would be a good partnership, you and him, because he's a filmmaker as well. So that could be something else, maybe because he's fantastic at documentaries. So definitely.
I'd love to connect. So that's kind of the side mission. So then the main mission, we thought, okay, so how do we do these events, right? Because I don't come from a music background by trade. I don't have a marketing background. I truthfully, on Facebook, when I first got on it, it was only to connect with my Army buddies. So because I was born in 1980, I picked that number. And every time I got above 80 friends, I'm like, okay, I got to delete somebody, because I was kind of recluse. I had to learn to be the me that not only I wanted to be and needed to be to do this, but also what I feel like God wanted me to be with the purpose.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, so I got to get good at public speaking. And I'm like, okay, so do I want to be, I'm big on organic. So do I want to be someone that writes speeches and has these clever quotes and all that? And I'm like, it makes me want to vomit, right? Not my thing. So I said, okay, we're throwing that out the window. I'll make bullet points sometimes if I really need to, but I'm just going to shoot from the hip and read the crowd reaction. So I made that decision. Then I'm like, okay.
It's always better when you go off prompter. Go off prompter. It's okay.
So
go off prompter.
you know what? Call it what you will, right? But then I thought, okay, so if I get the best, biggest name veteran speaker that you can get, I'm going to have to charge a stupid amount of money for tickets. I'm going to have a limited draw. People may get something from the event, but at the end of the day, is it's going to be like, eh. So I'm like, okay, where our connection happens is when people stay and talk and find out, hey, I went to school with your aunt, or your aunt went to school with my dad, or whatever else. So I'm like, what's something that brings everyone together? Music.
Yes.
So growing up, I listened to metal and country primarily. And I'm like, I don't want metal, because that's guys like me and even deeper backgrounds. That's going to trigger aggression and liability, security, stupidity. All are great things not to have. So I was like, okay, I'll cut that out. I like country. So I was like, okay, so what are my criteria is going to be for that? So every artist we've ever booked has to be a real patriotic person. I prefer, obviously, if there's someone that believes in God, but the business it is, you can't limit to just that. I try to. So we work with patriotic people. We have a couple agents in Nashville we work directly with. And then it comes down to funding, right? So typically an event, whether it's a nonprofit, pro wrestling, doesn't matter. Typically, you're going to set up sponsors and what you want to do and do all these boring business meetings and go around, putting chapstick on your lips because you have to kiss butt to get checks.
Yeah.
Type deal. And that's not me. So I was like, how can I do this my way to where I can do the, whole man in the mirror, look at myself and not want to choke myself kind of deal. So I designed an event in a rough time frame in my head first. Then I check the artists, make sure they're available. Then I put together a cost sheet, and then I talk to sponsors, or I'll put out an open call. Hey, we're looking for sponsors. And then it usually works out. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say we clear $100,000 a year. We don't. I mean, being outspoken and being a conservative veteran in a very blue state has its challenges in its own right. But due to our people in Nashville, loyalty, just building our name slowly but surely over the last almost 11 years, we've got to work with some good names. And speaking of your Macho Man intro, so I'm more of a Hulk Hogan guy, if I'm honest, but I like Macho Man.
Oh, yeah, I got Hulk Hogan, too.
Well, let me tell you something, brother.
That was my favorite. Hulk Hogan was my favorite, man.
Yeah, and the wrestle side of me, you know, obviously Stone Cold in high school a little bit. But
the Attitude Era.
Yeah, we did an event with a Navy vet, Sailor Jerry's her stage name. It's not her real name. Right after she released Veteran Hallelujah, and it was a Halloween party. And, you know, I feel differently about Halloween now more than I did then.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm like, what's something fun that makes me feel young again that I could dress up as? So it was like a white trash patriotic Macho Man costume. And like, I couldn't find, and this is true and it's embarrassing, but it's true. I'll say it. I couldn't find wrestling trunks, right, to go with the tights. And I looked online. I'm like, I'll just get some online. No big deal. And they were stupid expensive. I'm like, well, I guess I'm not going to do that. Yeah. So we were at, I don't know if you have a Ross where you're at, that, you know, cheaper clothing store. Mm-hmm. I don't know how national they are. So,
oh yeah, all over.
So we're sitting there and I'm like, you know what I could do is I could get some big girl panties that are solid red and glitter them up to slip over the tights. That will work. It's kind of weird, but okay, I'll go with that. So I do it, and then we're checking out. My wife threw a pair of thong in there as kind of like a joke and played a trick on me, and cashier's looking at me kind of funny. But yeah, we glittered those up, and for future reference, always dry your glitter a few days ahead of time because you're finding glitter in interesting places for weeks afterwards. But
same with confetti.
Yeah, I have a picture of Sailor Jerry taking a picture of my backside with the ooh yeah across the back. And that was an interesting event. But yeah, so we try and have fun. You know, we understand everyone's budget is not $1 million an event. So like if you look up some of these bigger country stars, whether you're talking Willie Nelson, Eric Church, I don't know, pick a name that's popular right now, Zach Top, since he's a Washington boy, whatever. Their tickets are pricey even for, you know, nosebleed seats. And I'm a blue collar guy. I mean, my dad drove for a meat company and my mom sold Twinkies, like literally. And, you know, she was a manager at the Hostess store. So like, I was like, okay, I want to make stuff reasonably priced, but I want families there. So we always do that. We always try and keep our tickets right around 50 or less. And then we also do it to where if you get like a VIP ticket, it's not that much of an upgrade from general to VIP, so people do it. But then if you do VIP, you get early entrance, so you can meet the speakers, performers, whoever, a little bit before everyone else. Maybe ask them some questions you might not ask when it's busy, whatever. You get early access to our merch so we don't run out of your size because we do limited batches. Our upcoming event, for example, it's the first one we're not printing new merch because I was just like, we still have a little bit of backlog from an event 2 years ago, and I want to clear it out before I go wasting our funds on new stuff.
Yeah.
So we try and do that. And, you know, and originally we always booked veteran musicians first and foremost. But then once we got into it a little bit deeper and got connected with Nashville, I hate to say it, but we realized some of the locals that we could book were charging us similar money, but the people that were out of area had a bigger draw when we brought them in. So then we were like, okay, so someone that's playing somewhere 2-3 times a month locally isn't going to draw as much. Plus they're charging us similar money. So it became an economic question. And, you know, like we got our buddy for this one coming up, Clayton Q, and he gave us a deal I couldn't say no to because normally I like to do ideally 60-plus day, but typically 90 to 120-day promo window, so I have enough time to budget, blow things up, market, merch, whatever.
Right.
And he called me up literally like at the tail end of May, early June, and he's like, hey, man, I got some time off in July. You want to do a show? And I'm like, and he made me a deal that's dang near impossible to do, But again, it's a shoestring budget because I wasn't planning on it. So we're piecing that together right now. And then got introduced to Barbara Sims, her name. She's a Marine vet from South Carolina and Wisconsin originally and lives in Montana. So we're always trying to expand, and we always try not to put someone on 2 cards back to back if we can help it, because it keeps it fresh. But try and have fun. Obviously, for the sake of veterans and legislation, we have to be involved in politics to a certain degree, which I can tell you as someone that's been in the meeting rooms and the private conversations, it's a lot of times neither side is that much fun to work with. I'll be open and honest about that.
Yeah.
It's a necessary evil, unfortunately, and you get why Jesus flipped tables, because I will tell you there's a lot. I'm not Jesus, but there's a lot of times you feel like flipping tables and more, because you get this idea. You're like, I'm doing this to help other people, but it brings you to the highest of highs and lowest of lows too. So,
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's hard to find good help. In the political realm. Trust me, I know it. I'm friends with a few what I would consider good politicians. I mean, like actual, like not completely corrupt. Like they actually have a heart. I'm actually acquaintances with the lieutenant governor here in the state of Indiana, and Micah Beckwith. He's fantastic. I think I might have him take a look at your stuff as well, because I think that'd be a cool little thing to get him turned on to that. But yeah, it's hard to find those good folks that you can really connect with in the political world, because a lot of times between their schedule, which is always so hard, because then you're dealing with their people and not them. Then when you do get to them, like sometimes they are really nice, but because they're surrounded by so much team, you can't really interact all that long, and they give you like 15 minutes, and you're like, okay, well, gotta go, and it's like, but I needed these things, and you said you would, and okay.
and that's it. And so, like with me, when Congresswoman Kathy McMorris Rogers was in office here, I sat on her veteran advisory board for a while. And once, not to get into it too much, but they have a system called Cerner, and it's a like Obamacare for vets, an overpriced IT system that someone got paid way too much money to design that flopped. Yeah. So it started off, and I think it was like $6 billion, and got all the way up to $16 billion before they finally realized it wasn't working right. And the company kept asking for money, and Eli Crane, the Navy SEAL congressman out of Arizona, was the only one that kind of pushed it forward to recoup some of the taxpayer dollars, because only in government can you get a contract screw up and still keep your money without going to jail,
Yeah.
And so I sat on her board, and, it got to a point where she wasn't listening, and then, said some falsehoods, like she knew how military spouses felt. And I'm like, ma'am, you do realize your husband was retired before you guys even met, so you don't. And then, the other thing is, when you talk about policy, they don't think you understand the X's and O's, how a bill is passed and whatever, but it's similar to an op order in the military. You got to do some of the background information, kind of the who, what, when, why, where's, cost. You got to do all that stuff. And it's just like there's so much legislation out there for veterans that could be good. But then what happens is left, right, different, bigger veteran nonprofits, whatever, they'll stick their own little stuff to benefit only them in there, and we don't have single issue bills. And then everyone's like, backdoor deals. Hey, you want this and I want this. So if you agree to this, I'll agree to this. And then something gets left out, and the divide just does this. And it's like, there's veterans, civilians, doesn't matter. There's no one cure for everybody. I mean, I believe, and obviously you do too, that the Bible is. I think the Bible and the Constitution need to be read often.
Yes.
But again, that's not everyone's way. Like, I have a friend that's big into Stoicism, right? And I think there's some good tenets in it. But with that being said, I stopped reading it because Stoicism put too much on self, in my opinion, and making yourself almost like godlike in a way, or a demigod in the way some of it's written. And then let's be honest, the Romans weren't exactly great people for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, the empire fell for a reason.
Well, I mean, all the, rituals,
Well, what we're seeing in this nation now, they had a lot of LGBTQ type people, and there was a lot of men dressing as women and pretending, and they leaned into it. It was heavy in the culture.
well, that's just it. And it's like, I tell people, I have friends that are on pretty much every political spectrum there is to I hate them all types. And, my best man, he's left leaning and we get along great. We disagree on some stuff. I mean, 20 years ago, would I have been a Trump fan? Probably not, because I'm not a fan of super wealthy people typically, because that's not my lifestyle. I don't like golf.
Yeah.
I like MMA better, or playing with my dogs, or working out in the gym, or doing bushcrafting, or playing in the bonfire type stuff. That's more my deal. But,
yeah, same here.
but it's just, if people don't have these conversations, you're not gonna bridge that gap, and that's why we set up the nonprofit the way we did. I call it Vet Island. Like, when you first get out, whether you do your initial enlistment or God knows how many years after, you get out and you're behind the power curve when it comes to employment because you don't have the college degree. Then you've missed things and you associate differently because of experiences. And so I call it Vet Island when you get out and you got to build that bridge back to the community, because most people don't get what you went through, even if you tell them. Like, I had an incident with a family member where they said some pretty public insultive things about my service because they wanted me to talk about it more. And I said, if I start hitting you with all these acronyms and all these things I did and stuff that you want to know, you're not going to understand anyway. And I'm going to have to spend an extra 4 hours just explaining this. And, why?
It doesn't do anybody any good.
No. So that's why you got to learn to just, meat and potatoes approach to it. But I mean, we've had decent success. We've had failures. We've had local vets. We've had national vets all get mad at us for various reasons. Unfortunately, there's fraud in the vet community. There's people that embellish what they did. There's a well-known Green Beret Army Ranger with the initials of TK. It's a former UFC fighter. I'm sure you can.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to get you censored or shadow banned. And everyone I know says he's a great guy. I've never personally met him. But there were some errors that got publicly exposed about his service. And rather than, yeah, guys, I said it in a book deal, blah, 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 and just trying to hype myself up more and admit it, he took the other route. And then there's, the Bin Laden raid and all the who said what and who did what stuff. And it's like, I don't get it personally. I mean, I tell people what I did. I was artillery, and, my first sergeant in Kosovo ended up becoming sergeant major of the Army, pretty good guy. And I learned a lot. And after 4 years and getting married halfway through and seeing what a toll it played on the family and wanting to switch jobs and go stateside and having a German wife that wasn't ready for it, I made the best decision for my family. I mean, ideally I would have done 20 plus years, but wasn't in the cards, and God had other plans. So here we are.
Yeah. And then you're putting together this organization in order to help those who were in the same position that you were in, like getting out and going, what now? What next? Where do I go? Well, go to Gr8terveterans.com, but with it spelled with an .org. Sorry, .org. That link is in the description below. So you can correct me with it. Just go to the description. Don't listen to me. Go to the description. The link's there.
It happens.
I was even looking at, like, I don't know, I have another monitor over here. I was even looking at it and I still said .com. But I think it's because, like, muscle memory of, like, always telling people about my website, Eternal Affairs, and everything's .com. So yeah, Gr8terveterans.org, spelled with an 8 instead of an A in EA and greater. So yeah, but the link is in the description below. Don't like I said, don't waste your time.
Well, technically you're not wrong, because when I first started, the .org wasn't available. So I had the .com originally, and then everyone's like, "You're a nonprofit. Why is it .com?" And I'm like, "I didn't know there's rules. I didn't take a class on this. My lawyer didn't tell me." So, like,
Yeah, I didn't know about that either until because well, I've been doing podcasts for we're in our 5th year and over at Revolver, and yeah, once we build everything up and started to do our website and everything, everybody was like, if you need to do this and you want to get donations and all this other stuff, you need to make this other website. And you need to do that. I'm like, or you guys can just be quiet and I'm just going to do this way, and people are donating anyway. So like, I I didn't re-register, but I get it. Like you want to make it as simple for people to know, like, hey, it's a .org. That means that it's a nonprofit. That's fantastic.
Crazy, all the rules. I mean, I won't say their name, but we had another local nonprofit that's, I'll say, questionable at best. Mm. And they lied about their service, things they did, where they've been, yada, yada, yada. I mean, him and his wife at the time were married, I think like 8 years, something like that. And they were trying to be a marriage counselor. And, me and my wife are going on 25 this October. And I'm going to tell you straight up, I still wouldn't even be one. Like, it's grace of God and her patience. It's nothing to do with me. I exist and try and make peace where I can in my household. That's it. But
I would say it's the God glue.
It is, because it's not me. Because I'll tell you right now, if I think about, like, I can't tell you how many times I've gone in my office and thought, yeah, I probably shouldn't have said that, or, I shouldn't have done that, or thank God I got a comfortable couch. I'll put myself on it. I'll bench myself, even though she didn't tell me to. And she's not like that at all. But, I don't know. I just always tell people honesty is the best policy. It is. I mean, the truth will set you free. I mean, obviously, in the case of the Clintons, it'll get you killed. But, generally speaking, it sets you free in a biblical sense anyway.
Yeah, I think about couples, because 22 years, my wife and I, as of April 9th this year.
Congrats.
And I was going to say, people that, if you have 3 different types of couples. You have the couples that fight all the time. That's unhealthy. They're probably not going to last. We know that. You have the couples that fight sometimes. Those are probably going to be the ones that last. And then the couples that tell you they never fight. Those are psychopaths, and you need to stay far away from them.
The ones that have a secret OnlyFans account are doing all that nonsense.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, we never fight. Oh, okay. So he just bows down and she rules the roost. Got it.
It's sometimes like someone asked me, they're like, who does the bills? And I said, my wife. And they go, why? And I go, because I don't like doing it. And she does. So I'm not going to fight her for it. Like if I want to buy something, I'm like, hey, I want to buy XYZ, when or how. And someone's like, okay, so you're telling me right now, if I said, I'll give you $1 million if you can tell me what's on your bank account down to the penny, what would you do? And I'd say, find someone else to ask her, but don't ask me. I don't know.
Yeah. You divide up the things in your marriage due to the talents that God gave you, each of you. Right. That's just the right way to be. My wife and I, we talked through it. I think that's a big difference between a lot of couples. They don't just sit down and chat. And we had hours of conversation of like, who's going to do what? And when we buy a house, who's going to take care of this, that, and the other. And, ultimately, she wants me to be the leader of the household, not because she has to follow me, because she wants to follow me, all the good things of, but she still works, we still split how money gets spent. We understand that everything is ours. There's no mine or mine, it's everything is ours. And we discuss it, right? Yeah. Everything's discussed. And I think, ultimately it's like, okay, when there is an escalation, so to speak, or an argument, the tiebreaker is because we decided a long time ago that, I would be the tiebreaker, I think that's what we read in the Bible. And so we stick to it. That's how we do things. But, if I feel like she's a better consult on something, I'll just defer to her. I'll just be like, whatever you're saying about this, I'm going to go to you on it. And then you just tell me, and then I will agree with it. because it's the best way to be, I think, is to be able to understand, like, when you don't know everything and maybe she knows a whole lot better, and you go, okay, well then you tell me what's going on with that, and that's just the way things are.
So you don't tell her she's acting like her mother and leave the room, huh?
Not since I was 25, man. I learned that lesson a long time ago. Yeah. I won't say that I never said it, because I definitely did when I was younger, but but my mother-in-law is fantastic, by the way, if she ever happens to watch this. Mother-in-law is fantastic. That woman will cook me a steak in a hurry. So I have nothing bad to say about my mother-in-law either.
Overseas, so, but I get along with her well. She's nice. So,
and so I know that you say you do the music events. What is some, and you wanted to work towards the center, I believe that there are ways to make that goal happen for sure. If I can be any part of that to help you along with that, I'll definitely reach out to every contact that I know. I'm sure Curtis will too, because that dude's got a lot of contacts. But what are some of the other outreach that you do through Gr8ter Veterans?
So I've done public speaking. I will travel to events if asked. Like I said, because I don't have a Visa Platinum or whatever the top tier card is. If someone wants me at an event or wants me to speak or something in person, then my only quote fee is airfare and a hotel. That's typically what I charge. Unless I know someone that's there, then I'll crash on a couch. But typically I don't like to do that, but I will. So I do that. I help with different vet business stuff. So if you're a vet business and you want me to share something, I'll do it. Anything patriotic I like to be involved in. Test different products. I've done knife testing for companies, and one of them, I won't say their name, but I stopped working with very early on in their company because the marketing model to me as an outdoor guy didn't make sense. And then splitting the name of the company between a fixed blade knife and a folder when you have no market share just didn't seem like a good business plan. And
it's strange.
Well, it is. And then the other thing that the individual that owns it did is when they debuted their folding knives, made a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And I said, dude, what are you doing? What do you mean? I go, if you're in the woods and you have a pocket knife, say that's the only thing you got, right? Why are you going to make a sandwich that's going to gum up your blade? I've been in the woods my whole life. I'm not an expert at everything. I'm decent. I'm not great. I could maybe go on one of those shows, maybe not. Depends on where and what. But I've never once thought, you know what, I should probably make my sandwich with my knife. Not once have I ever done that. I use a stick or my finger like a normal person. So, like, I don't know. So it just got to the point where it was like, why? And then when Buck Knives, because they're over in Idaho, they're about an hour from my house, they developed a knife called the Ground Combat Knife. And I bought one early on to test for my buddy who's a retired Green Beret that has a YouTube channel and writes for magazines. His name's Todd Yaterberg. It's called Odin's Wolf Survival. So we bounce knives and gear off each other all the time. And I said, hey, I'm going to Buck. I'm going to grab one of these for you to test, do a video. And he goes, okay, yeah, I haven't done one on those. And he goes, that's not the typical style of knife I would test. So I sent it to him. He loved it, tested it. They loved it. They gave me one. And so, I like to do stuff like that too. Like, typically when you review stuff, it's either free or you buy it, or sometimes they sponsor you. But
yeah, I
like that stuff. There's a boot company I'm wearing right now. I still don't know how to say it properly. It's spelled OBOZ. So I don't know if it's oboes like the sales lady said or oboz, but they're out of Montana and they're similar to a Merrill hiking boot, but they're a little bit better and a little bit lighter weight. So I'm trying on a pair I got right now to see if I like them, and then might be reaching out to the company to see if they can do some kind of deal or sponsorship. And
that's the pronunciation that they have on their official. Yep.
Okay. So so I said it wrong, but that's not a surprise. It happens.
It's all good. But I just happen to have the Southern Monitor over here. I could go, I'm quick on the top.
My phone's charging, but Yeah, so I don't know. I like different stuff like that. And then, when it comes to knives, I'm working on a few designs, and then I'm probably going to have them rough cut into steel and handle them and stuff, and then go to a couple different companies and say, hey, what about doing this and this steel, and here's why. And so that's just kind of a hobby.
Well, then maybe they could do like a Gr8ter Veterans branded version of one of their items, and then that could help. When someone buys that item, a certain amount of the proceeds will go to Gr8ter Veterans. I think that would be something you could
see, and I want to do that, but it's tough because like the one knife company, the individual that owns it did not know how to make knives. So they sent it to one of the big 3 Spanish knife makers, which I think it was Joker Knives that made it, but he wouldn't say. Whereas if you're not a maker, then you have to be a designer. And it's like, I want to learn how to make them. I know the basics, but that requires me to move, get a shop, get a forge, do all that. And then another thing is like anything, whether it's guns, shoes, Bibles, doesn't matter anything. It's, you got to look at the cost benefit side and then what you believe in. Like, I don't believe a good knife should be $300 or $400. A lot of custom ones are, but I mean, there's makers out there that use old sawmill blades and you pay like $125. And I just want something that does everything I need it to do. I don't have to worry about it breaking, and yet it's aesthetically pleasing and won't take a steak off a father or wife's table,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would love to see a lot more partnerships come through this broadcast. If you're out there listening or viewing right now, or on recording, like I said, go to that website. It's in the description below. There's a contact form you can fill out. Right, it's right there on the website. I'm looking at it right now. Actually, matter of fact, on my other monitor, I can see the contact form. Real simple to fill out. I'm sure those come probably directly to you and your team, right?
Yeah, they come to the nonprofit email, which I personally check. The phone number on there is my personal cell, so I prefer text. If you need a call, I'll be honest, within 24 hours, usually quicker, I get back to people. I answer everything myself. There's no gatekeepers because I don't believe in that. I believe, only the man upstairs has a right to a gatekeeper. I don't believe in doing that. Now, if something doesn't work, I'll be honest and say, hey, But, it just depends. But I mean, I answer everything myself. I do my own stunts, you might say. But yeah, I do all that myself. So
you're a man to help out the veterans. Definitely a man who loves his country. In more ways than one, for sure. I've heard you speak here, and a man of faith. So you're a man of principle, and that's very important. I think for a lot of people, even to non-believers, they would. I've heard this from plenty of non-believers. They would prefer to go to a company that they know, a company or donate to something that they know is ran by someone who is of faith, as opposed to not, because they know that the business is being ran right. Does that make sense?
No, it does. And I mean, we do, I'll be honest. I'm not one of those people that does that guide star thing like a lot of nonprofits, because I don't want to. I'm kind of lazy. I don't want to crunch numbers, but I will tell you, like, operating cost, everything goes into the events. The overages go to funding the next event, helping a vet where we're able. I mean, we have occasionally paid utility bills. That's not something we do typically, case by case basis. Wrote letters for employment. Again, that's not something we typically do. Introduce people to businesses. We'll do that always. But I mean, we've had vets call us, hey man, I'm between jobs. I want to go to your show. I can't. And I go, can you afford the cheapest ticket? No. And I go, do you have more than 5 followers on social media? Yeah. I said, okay, I'm going to send you a flyer. I said, share that a few days this week and I'll give you a free ticket,
Yeah.
And we always do giveaways when we have sponsors that give us products, whether it's knives or I don't know, whatever. If I get any of that little goodies from friends, businesses, veteran-owned companies, etc., or if I have a promo code for something, which I I hate doing that. Use promo code. I don't like doing that stuff. Everyone does it. It's just the way it is. I still don't like it, but I'll do that. If someone's like, "Hey, I'm living in this area. Do you know anyone to help with this?" I'm like, "Yeah, hey, talk to so and so. Here's their number," and then I'll text the person and say, "Hey, so and so is coming to talk to you." We help with VA claims. We try and stay, like I said earlier, in politicians' ears about needed legislation. But overall, we just do whatever we can. We're like a Swiss Army knife. Yeah, we have a set core mission of things we do, but we'll deviate as needed. That's literally what we're like. We're like a Swiss Army knife in terms of what we do.
That's fantastic. I love that you're setting up events, giving them, giving the veterans something that they can get out and escape for an evening. Just be able to kick back with their families, or just their friends, a night out. It's fantastic. For many years I pursued being a musician myself, but I have a lot of friends in the business, not just musicians, but stand-up comedy as well. And so certainly you might get a flood of emails in the coming months. I'm just gonna let you know right now, of people that are definitely patriotic, that love the Lord, and but whenever they're coming through town, that you might just hear from them. Just let you know ahead of time.
Well, we do one-offs too. I mean, we'll bring someone up for a one-off show. It's just like we did. I don't want to say the name because I'll get sued or anything, but just because I don't want to give them free press. But there's a festival north of here. It's going in its 4th or 5th year, right? Something like that. We were a part of it year 2 and 3, and helped them get a lot of artists and whatnot. And yeah, it was nice to get the extra exposure with some of their people. But ultimately, we ended up parting ways because they were mad. We had off-duty law enforcement at our campsite. And one of my bigger sponsors was like, "Hey, I want to tase somebody and I'll give Gr8ter Veterans $2,000. And I'm like, "Well, if you up it to 10, you can tase me, but I'm keeping some of the money if I'm getting tased. I don't like it. I don't like electricity. It hurts."
Right. Exactly.
But anyway, so one of my buddies volunteered, and there were 2, off-duty Idaho cops that were doing security. So they donated the cartridge, which I think was like $50.
Yeah.
EMTs on site, waivers, live video. Hey, you're not going to sue anyone if you die, right? No, cool. So one of my buddies made us $2,000. We laid him down on a pink unicorn floaty to be extra special. But it was funny. Everyone had a good time. Well, they didn't like that we did that at the campsite on their property. And so that was kind of the last straw, I guess. And, it's unfortunate, but, I'll be honest, it was worth it. It was funny. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know anyone else that had any crazy fundraisers like that were spontaneous and whatnot. So it was fun. So, and his dad, he wasn't a vet, but his dad was, and his dad was a big supporter, fan, friend of ours. And they have a monument at the arena here in Spokane. And the challenge coin I gave him, a medallion I had made for him, and some other stuff are with his ashes under his brick where his name is. So it's kind of a cool honor to have, I think. I mean, that's one of the things I'm most proud of, is that someone thought that much of you that they wanted to be in turn with some of your items. That's pretty cool, I think.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. Certainly an honor at that point, right? An honor.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I tell you that, so I know we were discussing a little bit pre-show faith, and I've kind of mentioned it here. But I kind of want to bring it up just for, because I know we got a few minutes here left. But how did you come to know Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, if I may ask?
So it's kind of a 2-part answer. So part A, 1, whatever you want to assign to that. Growing up, my grandma took us to a church close to her house on the South Hill in Spokane. I want to say it was called Heritage Congregational or Heritage Baptist, one of the two. I can't remember. It's still there. It looks like a prison now, modern building. And our reverend was from Ireland, so I loved his accent. And the kids always sat in the front row, and he always picked on us, but in a biblical way, and it was fun. And then I don't know why we just stopped going. My dad was a single dad at the time, so I don't know if it was getting us there. I don't know. So years went by, and then high school, let's see, what was it? Senior year, I met a gal that was a year younger than me, and they went to a church that was kind of, I don't know what you would call it. Like the women wore doilies on their head. I don't know what it was called, but it was like kind of an old school style, and wasn't really my thing. And we broke up when I got to Germany because of whatever. I don't know what it was even anymore, distance, whatever. And so I like always believed and prayed, but I never really was like, okay, I'm a Christian, right? And then right before COVID, I started to watch Julie Green Ministries. She's out of Iowa.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah, and I have friends that don't like her because they say a woman can't be a preacher. And I'm like, first of all, she's not a preacher. Second of all, prophets are real. And lastly, on that note with her, is she's teaching. It's different. Anyone can be a teacher as long as they're teaching correctly. So I learned a lot from her. So Monday through Friday, that's my study. That's what I do at whatever point I can during the day and watch her. I watch her almost like a religion in itself, not that it's idol worship or anything. And then
it's just to keep yourself in the Word. It's nothing wrong with keeping yourself in the Word.
So then what kind of made me stronger in faith to get to where I'm at now and where I'm striving to be, right? So I look at life, and I'll say it in a second, but I look at life almost like a football game, right? If you're winning the game and you get down to the final drive and you fumble the ball in the end zone being heaven in this instance, what is the point of anything else? So I try and live a life worthy of going to where I want to go forever, right? Like I try and be as humble and charitable. Yes, I have a temper. Yes, I make mistakes. Yes, I say things. Yes, I cuss sometimes. Whatever. I'm not perfect. I'm not expected to be. I didn't get pierced for anyone's transgressions, right? So where I got to where I'm at now, I was doing a summer series in the town I live in right now called Deer Park, and in Eastern Washington, just north of Spokane, where I'm from. And a city employee got mad that I didn't book some local people, some of which I've never even heard of. They have no social media, so I can't put them in good faith on the stage, right?
Right.
It's a business thing.
Right.
And, anyway, so he decided to create a fake Facebook account, and one of the gals I booked, and I can say her name, it's no big deal. Her name's KDO. She was on The Voice on Team Reba like a year or two ago. We're still good friends. Her mom and I are all friends. She's out of Jacksonville area. We booked her, and she was 17 at the time, and her mom was with her. You know, my background's cleared all the way up through the FBI. So, and anyway, so this city employee out here created a fake Facebook account and said I was trying to get with her mom and trying to do, and it's not true, obviously, but he was that pissed because I didn't book someone he wanted me to be. And I went to the mayor. Mayor did nothing. And it deeply depressed me. And I guess I can briefly get into why in a second. But it got to the point where my PTSD was off the rails. I wanted to die. Like literally, I had a 1911 in my mouth. I can just talking about it, I remember the taste. It comes up right now. And I went in my walk-in closet and I cocked the hammer back and I was going to do it. And I was like, screw this. I'm not going to have someone call me something like that. It's disgusting. I would never even dream of doing that. And it's like someone tapped me on the shoulder, but no one was there. So I put the gun down, put a shirt over it. And I started to walk out of my room about 2 minutes later and my daughter was there. And it was like, I felt like it was like either an angelic presence or something like that saying, hey, dummy, look who would have found you, you moron. And so then I kind of realized, okay, that would have been stupid. And I just took a vow right then and there. I'm like, I don't know what you're going to do with my life. And honestly, I don't care, but I'm not doing that crap again. I sold that gun. I felt like there was some bad juju on it. I took a loss just to get rid of it. I'm like, I don't care if you throw it off a bridge. Now get it gone.
Yeah.
And, I still carry a gun every day and shoot and do all that. But that one in particular in that time, just, I won't ever buy a gun like that again from that company. And it just, so that kind of brought me back. And, part of the reason that triggered me, and I don't talk about it publicly as much as maybe I should with my background, but My original reason for wanting to get in criminal justice is my mom and 4 of her sisters were assaulted by their own father, which I refuse to call grandpa. And not to say that I don't believe vengeance is the Lord's, but let's just say I hope the evil one is using his skull as a cup, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I never really liked that, right? Like, I never liked those type of people that hurt children, right? So it cut me deeply because number one, it wasn't true. And then number two, it triggered that memory. And yeah, so obviously got past that. I was over 3 years ago, and focus on this and focusing on telling my story, not because I want to necessarily, but because if I tell my story, maybe that veteran or even non-veteran that's on the verge of saying things suck is going to maybe think they suck less if they have someone to talk to. You know, I try and say real, like what with me, what you get, what you see is what you get, and it's always going to be that way. I don't believe in keeping secrets, right? Like, I know things about people I won't divulge publicly because not because I really so much even care if their image gets hurt, because the things I know, they deserve to be hurt because they're disgusting human beings. But I also believe vengeance is the Lord's, and if it doesn't affect me directly, I kind of try and, shoo it away to a certain degree. I mean, sometimes you have to step in it and walk through it, but yeah, so all that stuff just kind of culminated and made me realize, okay, God's real. And then right after my grandpa died, there was another experience where there's this neighbor, he's Aramaic, and I haven't seen him in a few months, so hopefully he's still alive, but he always walks the street where we're at. And I was missing my grandpa, right? And I felt this bright light on me, and I was playing with an axe, just splitting wood because I was off from the gym that day and just bored. And I look around and he comes up, but like I saw my grandpa's image for a second, and then it was this elderly gentleman that I like that's very wise. And I was getting ready to say something, and it's something I've never told him. And he goes, I know. And I'm like, wait a minute, how could he know this if I've never told him? And then we both know the answer to that, right? Like, there is only one answer. So some of those things have happened that I've seen. I had a buddy, he's on my board. His name's Bob Gum. He was a claims officer helping vets with claims. And roughly about 2 years ago, he had a stroke that almost killed him. And thank God there was fog, because if they would have airlifted him, the elevation would have caused a brain bleed and he would have died. And it was so weird because the first night I thought he was going to die. And then the next morning I woke up and it's like God put me at ease. And I knew he was going to make it. And I went to all of his therapy appointments I could go to, not all of them, but a lot of them. I drove to town and would go there and give him the old Army guy, vet to vet harassment. Oh, really? That's all you got? You sure you were infantry? You're acting like you were Coast Guard, and, rousing him and getting everyone to laugh, and just been a good friend to him, supporting him, even when I hate hospitals as a general rule. And
Most men do.
yeah, and there's been a lot of things God's put on my heart to say, to do, to help people. Hearing his wife call me the next day in tears, just bawling her eyes out. I think he's going to die. I don't think he's going to make it. And for me to know that he was, and to see his recovery where he is now, walking around, got use of most of his right side again, not completely back, but he's getting there little by little, and seeing his positivity, his memory increase. It's all God. And then, I had another buddy that died of a heart attack that did a lot of black ops type stuff. And his wife called me and was crying a lot the other day. And just like, to be strong enough to withstand that storm and be there for someone else when you got your own stuff going on. And when you don't know the right words to say typically, but you do in that conversation, I mean, there is no other answer other than God. And I tell people all the time, let's just say you don't believe in the Bible. Read Proverbs and Psalms, and they're just nuggets of wisdom, almost like a fortune cookie in themselves, even if you don't believe. If I wrote them down verbatim and you knew they weren't from the Bible and you were an atheist, you might follow God just because of that wise advice in there.
Yeah, I always direct people to the Book of James because I say it's such practical knowledge. Like even if you're a non-believer, you can get the moral um, the moral fortitude out of the Book of James because there's so much there. Slow to speak, slow to anger, quick to listen. All these things, and it's like I said, it's a very practical book. I think it's why it's my favorite book, as a matter of fact. And for those of you who are out there right now and you're wondering, is Jesus Christ in fact real? Well, I mean, you just heard a testimony, first of all, but I'm here to tell you as well. Yeah, 100%. And not only is he real, but he is the way, the truth, and the life. There's no one that comes to the Father but through him. He said it himself. He's the only um, uh, person in religious literature, in history, to ever make that claim that the only way to heaven is through him individually. Only one. You can read all the other faiths, religions, and everything else. He's the only one to go only through me. Yeah, and I've done the research. I love it when I hear people say, "Well, I'll prove you wrong." Okay, well then give me one example, and they can't.
Well, who else sent their son to earth to die for our sins so that we could come to him through his son? No one else has. And that's what I tell people. And I said, the other thing you got to understand too, nowhere in the Bible does it say you have to be perfect, right? Nowhere in there does it say you have to be perfect. It says you have to repent, you have to acknowledge him, you have to accept him, right? And try and live by his tenets, right? There's plenty of examples, you take, not to get political, but you take some circles compare Trump to King David, right?
Yeah.
Or King
Solomon. There's a lot of parallels.
Well, there is, and there's too many to ignore, even if you didn't like him. But they say, okay, but King David wasn't a good guy. I go, not always, but he ended up being one. It's not where you start, it's where you finish.
Yeah. Well, he was always honest with God too. That was the thing. Like no matter how far he walked away. I mean, this is the same guy who said, my God, why have you forsaken me?" And then you go into Psalm 23, and then he's like, "The Lord is my shepherd; I shall not want." These are the same guy.
In his trials and tribulations, so Julie Green, speaking of her, which one of these days I'm hoping to either do an event with her, meet or something. I like her honesty, whether it's mispronunciation of words to slip up she has. She doesn't edit it out. She is who she is. She doesn't claim to be anyone else. She admits her mistakes, and I think that's admirable personally. But one thing she says a lot, and you talk about test to testimony, is how God's like a silversmith in a way, because when you melt silver, you have to attend it the whole time. So he puts us through these trials, not just to test our faith or to earn our keep, but to mold us where he wants us. We all have different missions. That's why we're not supposed to have envy of our neighbor. Like your neighbor pulls up in a brand new car you wish you could afford. You're not supposed to say, he doesn't deserve that. It's not up to you, because God decides blessings and curses, right? The power of the tongue, speaking life, etc. And it's like I tell my wife all the time, I say this: anything God gives you, he can take away. Mm-hmm. There's no such thing. I used to believe in luck. I don't believe in luck at all. Zero. Luck is fake. That is man-made, because everything you have is either good or bad, which means a blessing or a curse. And any blessing or good thing you have is because of him and because of your faith in him and your obedience as a servant, right? I've had times where we've been between paychecks and money was tight, and I'm like, God, I have like $3 in my pocket. What am I going to buy my family to eat for $3? Like, you want me to go poach a deer? I know where there's some. What do you want me to do here? And then he'll hey, did you think about this? Or you could sell this item you have and get this. Like, these ideas will pop in my head, like stuff I'm not even thinking about.
Or somebody will knock on the door. I've had that. Or somebody just goes, "Hey, you want to come over for dinner?" Or call, like,
I don't get those. I usually get would you like to upgrade your car warranty?
Oh,
but I mean, there's little, and he communicates to us all differently, right? Like, yeah. People think they need like a Chicken Little sky is falling type communication, but sometimes it's little hints that you may perceive as a whisper, you may perceive as a gut feeling. But like I've literally tested this time and time again. There's been times I was supposed to be somewhere and something bad happened, or December of 2022, we got in a car wreck. We should have died, right? Literally, we got hit twice at over 70 miles an hour in wintertime. We should have been dead. And we all survived. And God had my wife steer the wheel the exact right way because I had my knees injected and I wasn't supposed to drive that day. And everything worked out. And, you know, I just tell her, I go, that's what faith is. It's not just, okay, I believe in God. Cool. Now I can do what I want and then I'll go to heaven someday. It's, you got to live it. You got to walk it. You got to breathe it. You got to repent when you screw up. You got to understand what it means. And, you know, there's people, like I said, in the green room before the show, you know, and again, it's my personal opinion, not the opinion of the show or anyone on the show other than me. But you got guys like Joel Osteen had a recent interview with one of the Paul brothers, which I'm not a fan of either one of them, but they asked him about the rumors of the Bentley and the jets and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, why work here without taking a salary? But he used the church to build his name. And then the church is a nonprofit. So the nonprofit that he runs has these things. So he uses them. I mean, you know, how many preachers have, you know, Botox on their wife or other enhancements?
Oh, yeah. But him and there's a series of others. Televangelists are known for this, but here's the biggest issue I have with it. Regardless of the money and prosperity gospel he does and all that other baloney that leads people away from Jesus, is the fact that he'll, at the beginning of any sermon, any given Sunday, if you turn on Joel Osteen, you don't even have to turn the volume on. You'll just see he'll hold up at the beginning. He'll hold up a Bible and he'll say, "This is my Bible," and he'll do the little spiel about what the Bible is. Then he'll sit it back down on the podium, and you'll notice that Bible never gets opened, not once, throughout the entirety of a sermon. And then he does all this feel good stuff and everything, but never once, you know, on most, like Pat Summerall, you know, he always had that scripture across the screen. You know, I always remember that as a kid, but not Joel. You know, never once will you see scripture across the screen, unless he's nitpicking it out specifically to drive home his, what I call, false narrative. And I don't like that at all. I don't like when people lead people away from the Lord. The Bible is what it is. It's black and white and sometimes in red. That's it. You're talking about you know, the belief in Jesus Christ. Well, we in our Bible study we do over on Revolver Broadcasting. It's Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. Eastern. If you ever want to go over there and check it out, we're just two dudes doing Bible study. But we call it Morning Word, by the way. But we're in the book of Romans, because we're going back and forth between Romans and Psalm right now. But talk about the propitiation. And so propitiation is a way to reconcile our sins. Jesus was the propitiation. So in Christianity, right? But in all other faiths, religions, what have you, you are the propitiation. You're the sacrifice. You have to sacrifice every single thing. But the price is already paid in Christianity. That's why they can't stand it. The price is already paid. And so it further makes it the truth. It's the only one that the sacrifice is not.
Even in pop culture, there's references with like Sodom and Gomorrah, you know, Lot's wife, when she looks back and gets turned into a pillar of salt, right? Like, so you have that modern saying, don't look in the past because you're not going that way. But that, if you really think about it, derives from that, because it really breaks it down simply. And then the miracles, signs, and wonders, you know, they're starting to find more and more through science that Jesus Christ really was real. And a lot of us didn't need the science to do that, right? Like, so I read, like, as a general rule, my ESV Bible, I want to buy a nicer one eventually, but this one I bought it, I don't know if you can see it, Barnes and Noble, but if you look, I have pages marked, taped up, highlighted, and I read every night before I go to bed. After I pray, I read Psalm 91. Of course, I like Ephesians 6:10 and on, like everyone else. But I mean, if you really just sit and think you don't even have to think with the spiritual mind and just think, okay, look, okay, I get this now. I get the parallel, right? Like I was even talking to my youngest son about it, the premarital stuff, right? When I was younger, I always thought of it like shoes, try on shoes before you buy them, right? That's how I viewed it growing up. And then now that I won't say necessarily wiser because that's subjective, but let's just pretend it's true. Now that I look at it and think about the why side of it, right? If you don't know anything else, you're not going to want for anything else. You're going to, like in the car business, when I was going to school, they said, love the one you're with in terms of sales. Focus on the customer you're with now instead of the one you're trying to get. Well, it kind of applies the same way is if you don't think about other things, you're content with what you have, right? Like God, it says how many times in the Bible, a version of do not be afraid or do not fear. That's what 365 times is what most people say. Right. And there's countless examples of that. God gives us not necessarily what you want all the time, but what you need.
Yeah. And he's, I guess one last thing before because want to get people, if you're on Rumble, I'm going to get you guys rated out over to a good friend of mine. He does the Res Truth Pod. They discuss faith in depth. So you kind of like just you'll be able to pick up from here and go over there. If you're on YouTube or Facebook, as far as what Chris has lined up outside of my show Deprogrammed on Saturday, I'm not 100% certain on, but I'll be back here on Saturday from 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern doing Deprogrammed. It's a politics show, and I'll go through some articles and stuff. But we were talking about gosh, I lost my train of thought here. Last thing you said. Do you remember what last thing you said, honestly?
Yeah, it's about the parallels and how, a lot of the Bible is essentially common sense stuff. I mean, even if you think of it without a spiritual mind, a lot of it's just, if you live your life that way, even just say you didn't believe, a lot of it's just generally good advice to live by, I think, how to treat your fellow man, I do anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. There was something I was going to say, but maybe the Holy Spirit neglected me of it because I wasn't supposed to say it. So I'll say what I'll say what I always say then as I close out any show that I'm on, and I always say to folks to stay in trouble. And I get the question then immediately is, what are you talking about? You're just talking about Jesus. We talk about. Well, I'll tell you why. Because if you have Christ in your hearts, you will in fact be in trouble with the world. The world doesn't want you living under his grace. That's your salvation first and foremost. And I pray that each and every one of you has that. The world doesn't want you praying to him, having a relationship with him, or reading his word. And man, it definitely doesn't want you going out and doing something so dangerous as telling others about him. But I want to encourage you to do all that anyway and to stay in trouble. And if you guys haven't already, visit Gr8terveterans.org. Click that link in the description below. And thank you so very, very much for joining me, Nick Richardson, everybody. Oh man, I hope to have you back.
Well, let me know.
Question: real estate in California. What the Seriously, can someone help? What's an escrow? What's an ARM? What is an REO? What is pre-approval? Can I get pre-approval? Why is inventory so low? Why are interest rates so high? Oh, interest rates not so high? How low is low? How not so high is right.
Before you go down the road of questions, get expert help at championsofhome.com. California Association of Realtors. Who's your realtor?